This week on Myth Hunters, Susan and Barry explore the basement of Barry's apartment, where 13 people are rumored to have hanged themselves since the building's erection in 1924. Is this just a myth? Just a hoax? Wives' tale? Or hardcore fact? Susan and Barry intend to find out.
So the myth goes that in 1924, on the first day that this building opened, Miles Jackson, one of the tenants, killed his wife and 6-month-old infant and then hanged himself in the basement.
Since then, 12 other lost souls have killed themselves in the same manner, each claiming to have heard the voice of Miles Jackson just before their demise.
I've done extensive research, and I couldn't find anything about Miles Jackson or the other people who supposedly lost their lives in this building. Is it just a myth? Or is the city of Los Angeles engaged in a massive cover-up?
On this investigation, we're going to go check out Barry's basement and get to the bottom of this. Come with us as we investigate. So right now we're heading down into the basement. Barry, have you experienced anything strange going on in the basement here?
Just the old man.
Miles Jackson?
No, the old man from 104 who washes recyclables in the sink. It's really weird.
That dryer, it never works. Shh. What?
Did you feel that?
No, I didn't feel anything.
Shit. Nothing on the millimeter.
Did you hear that? Over this way. I don't know if we should be doing this.
Holy shit, what is that?
I don't know, but it looks like the scene from the Blair Witch.
Oh my god, I'm getting millimeter. Like, look at this. It's crazy.
What should we do?
I don't know. Is that a ghost? Is that him? Miles?
Oh, hey guys.
Andy!
Do you know this guy?
Hey, what's up? Hey Susan, I'm Andy. Good to meet you.
What are you doing down here?
Well, I came down to work on my top 10 for the episode, but then I kept seeing this like glowing tiny light in the corners, and I'm just trying to get a lock on it.
Unfortunately, we didn't find anything, but we'll try again.
I'm sorry, I'm usually better with these things.
Andy? Where'd you go, man? And here we are, everybody, episode 6 of the Horror Geekcast. Remember last week when I said, we've got a big surprise? Well, this is the surprise. Susan Slaughter has joined our family, our extended family, our family that keeps growing, like Cronenberg's movie, The Brood. There's this woman in this cabin, and she's hatching these things. And one of those was Susan.
Yeah.
So, Susan, how's it feel to be out of the little cabin in the woods and one of those creepy kids, and now you're a grown, beautiful woman who likes weird
I
things?
still feel like a cranky baby. Just smack me on the ass.
Hey, good game. Get slapped.
This space is huge. You really made, like, this studio is huge. And they turned this apartment, like, stage, like... Sorry, am I moving too much?
No, you're good. Actually, we didn't construct this set. We're still in my tiny little apartment. And that's one of the reasons why we're doing the Patreon, so we can get a little help. I don't want to beg.
We're begging.
Yeah, actually, we are begging.
Yeah.
We really do need your help to keep this show going. You guys, please, if you haven't already, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/thehorrorgeekcast. Now, I want to give a little social media shout out. It's called VHS Bright Lights. That's VHS_Bright Lights. They take old VHS tapes and put like colored LED lights in them. It's VHS art. It's amazing. How cool is that?
That's pretty cool.
So you guys should check it out. And you should also, if you haven't already, check out our social media, facebook.com/thehorrorgeeks, Twitter and Instagram @thehorrorgeeks. Susan, what's your social media?
You can find me on Twitter at Slaughter_Susan, or I'm Susan the Dragon Witch on Instagram.
Susan the Dragon Witch?
Yeah.
That sounds like a horror fantasy movie from 1982.
Maybe, 88. I'm like birthed.
Okay.
I get birthed out of an egg.
Yeah.
By like some curse.
Yeah, there you go.
By a witch.
Let's go write the script.
Okay.
No, actually, we do need to continue with the show. This episode, we're going to be doing ghosts. Woo.
Why ghosts?
I don't know. We'll find out in a little bit. Ted Payson's going to be back with us. Last episode, if you remember, he did his top 10 favorite road trip horror movies. This episode, we got a new segment, so I'm excited for you guys to see that. He's also going to stick around and do the bloody bonus.
Bloody bonus!
With Susan and I. What are we going to talk about? Who knows? If you're a $1 Patreon subscriber, you could find out.
I'd buy that for $1.
That's a cheap price if you ask me.
It is a cheap price. Only $1. Now... So we're doing ghosts. So excited. We have a real life, bona fide ghost expert. Ghost spurt. Ghost spurt? Guckhold? Ooh. That's kind of sexy.
Yeah, ghosts are pretty sexy sometimes.
So since you're a ghost spurt, I want to ask you about a couple experiences that I had and see what you think. It was 1999. I was living in Bloomington, Indiana, in a farmhouse, kind of in the country, and there were 2 nights. This happened probably within 3 or 4 days of each other. It was an old farmhouse, and I was sleeping in my bedroom, and I kind of woke up in the middle of the night, and my attention was drawn to the corner of the room. And it wasn't like a figure of anyone, but it was kind of like an orb or like a ball of energy. But it was like human size, but it was just kind of standing there in the corner.
Ooh.
And I didn't really get freaked out by it or anything. I think I just kind of like, it was like, oh, and then it kind of dissipated.
What were you like?
Ugh.
Okay.
But I wasn't like, ah.
You're like, no.
But then a couple nights later, I woke up in the middle of the night, and whatever that thing was, it was in the bed lying next to me. And that did freak me out. And then I was like...
That's creepy.
It is creepy.
I believe you, though, because I've seen some crazy shit myself. A lot of the times I feel like when I tell people my experiences, I catch myself and I'm like, they're going to think you're crazy. Like, you know, it's not just like, oh, I saw a lady in white at the top of the stairs in this old mansion. Like, my ghost stories get a little scary.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, you were on a popular show, Ghost Hunters International.
Right.
And did that accentuate, bring out your ghost experiences?
No, I think it kind of started when I was a kid. And you know what, like, when you're investigating with a team, you have, like, you know, reinforcements and people there with you. And so it's not as scary as growing up and you're alone in your room.
And so you had a alone in the room experience as well.
Yeah, I totally did. It was like kind of crazy. Like I had a similar like ball of light experience that would come and visit me pretty often. And it was kind of terrifying at first, but then I got more and more brave with it, and I started to try and interact with it, and I noticed that it would interact with me, and sometimes I would see it to be closer. Like one time I woke up to what it seemed like someone was shining a flashlight over my face, and so you're like, you see it through your eyelids, you open your eyes, and then that ball of light was like right in front of my face. So that was an intense experience, and from that point on, I slept in my mom's bed till I was like 13.
So you had that kind of period of time.
Yeah.
Then you had the ghost hunting television show period of time.
Yeah.
What about recently?
Well, I do believe, since I've been all over the world and I've seen a lot of paranormal, like, interesting things, I think that maybe I probably adopted a spirit that I would see every now and then. The first time I saw him was when I was in Samoa. He would come and visit me every now and then. I've even had people that, let's say, they would spend the night in my house and wake up and be like, holy shit, Susan, like, your place is haunted. I just saw this crazy wolf face, like, with glowing eyes staring at me from the corner of your room. And I'm like, oh, don't mind him. Like, he hangs out with me sometimes. He's big, so, like, he, like, kind of towers all the way up to the ceiling. I don't know. I consider him kind of like my spirit pet. He's very protective of me, and he doesn't really like other men or males around me, so cock blocks everything.
Yeah. Everybody needs a cock-blocking ghost. I mean,
But-
it comes in handy from time to time, right?
It's like I can still feel you.
But speaking of sex, because it's everybody's favorite subject, I've always wondered this, and maybe you're the person to answer this.
Okay.
In real life ghosting, do people ever like hold seances or try to channel ghost spirits for sexual purposes?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah. People do it in rituals, like there's sex rituals, and you would be like the embodiment. Like, oh yeah, that's something I'm into, actually. I love that. Like, sex is such a powerful thing. You could definitely use that to, like, build energy, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And people that practice, like, voodoo or, you know, even, like, satanic rituals that are more, like, on the hedonistic, you know, and, yeah, people do sex rituals all the time and get entranced or, you know, possessed by these spirits that want to have that physical sensation again. And so, yeah, people do that all the time. It's, like, really common.
Well, all this talk of ghosts and sex, I think maybe I need a new hobby.
Yeah, I love my hobby. I feel relaxed all the time.
G.I. Joe will return after these messages.
Good evening. I'm Chase Conroy, not your news nightly newscaster for this evening. You may remember me from such careers as the nightly news anchor for Horrortown USA's Channel 13's nightly newscast, Horrorcast if you will. I've been trying out new careers ever since there were a string of murders, and this week I am trying out real estate agent. And boy, do I have some wonderful homes for you. First up, I have for you this wonderful southern Pasadena craftsman located in the beautiful Midwestern town of Haddonfield, Illinois, built in the 1890s and originally inhabited by a family of Donald, Edith, Judith, and Michael Myers. This is a wonderful fixer-upper home with several problems. The yard is a mess. There are a few holes in some walls and doors. This one's for sale. Please buy it from me. If a fixer-upper isn't your cup of tea, perhaps a Dutch colonial. This one located at 112 Ocean Drive in the south side of Long Island. It was built in 1925. It was inhabited by a family that... They're not there anymore, let's just say. This is a lot harder than it looks. If you do enjoy a home of this nature, you may just find yourself being visited by Jody, the local pig lore of the time. There's a fun little convenience store. It's a great one in Amityville. Not a fan of the Northeast's horrific winters and historical hauntings? Well, how about this Ansular Adamsley, picturesque desertous homes of the American Southwest? This home also features a built-in business, a B&B, if you will, a motel hotel, not a Holiday Inn. For any of those young couples with an entrepreneurial spirit and a can-do attitude, this is just the home for you. Always wanted to distill your own wine? Or possibly make your own whiskey? Well, this has a built-in cellar full of fruit and fruit flies and possible body parts. But that can all be cleaned out for a price, an asking price. Literally, give me a price. We can make it happen. I need to sell something. That doesn't suit your fancy. Maybe you've always dreamt of living in Tinseltown, where you can be surrounded by the stars of Hollywood, the urine of the homeless, and a new case of hepatitis, recently on the rise in San Diego, working its way up the coast. This spacious home is full of stairways, secret passages, but I can tell you this, if you do hear voices in the walls, it won't be of ghosts. And that's a Chase Conroy promise. And a Chase Conroy promise is only a Chase Conroy promise if it's Chase Conroy promising it to you.
And now, back to Dungeons and Dragons.
So let's talk about some ghost movies.
Okay.
Now, there are some subgenres within the subgenre. That's how horror works. There's like these 4 different subgenres from each topic. But within ghost movies, and you can have some different kinds of ghost movies. Haunted house movies.
Classics.
We can't overlook haunted house movies.
No, that's like the ultimate, like, ghost movie.
Yeah. most people, when they think of ghost movies, they think of haunted house movies. And there's a couple that probably stand out to most people. Some oldies, but goodies. I would say The Haunting and The Legend of Hell House. Have you seen Legend of Hell House?
Yes, I love that movie. And I really relate to the psychic character, you know? Like, she's kind of like, there's this scene where she stands up for herself, like, to, like, the more science-based skeptic asshole guy.
Yeah.
You know, and she just, like, flips her shit, and then all of a sudden, like, everything starts going crazy in the house, and everyone's like, wait a second. Is this house haunted? Is it this psychic chick? Like, I get blamed for shit all the time. Like, so I was like,
it's her fault.
It's always my fault.
Now, those old movies are great, and I do appreciate the classics, and usually I'll kind of default to the classics, but to me, when it comes to haunted houses, nothing's better than the others.
The famous scene where she thinks she's talking to her daughter, who's locked in the room because she locks all the doors because her kids are photosensitive and God forbid they get touched by light. She walks into the room and then, you know, you have like her playing with her like little marionettes and it just turns out to be this creepy ass old lady.
What have you done with my daughter?
Are you mad? I am your daughter.
The cinematography is just freaking amazing. It's just a beautiful film, especially the scene where she finds her husband in the fog. We also have like wandering ghost movies.
Yes.
And I thought, because we've been talking about some sex ghosts, that we could talk about It Follows,
which I loved.
It's a very sexual ghost movie.
And it's very modern.
People who know me and follow me on social media or pay somewhat attention to the things that I say know that It Follows was my favorite horror movie of 2015.
Yeah, I would have to say.
I absolutely adored that movie. I went to see it 5 times in the theater. The thing about It Follows was that the premise of it was so simple. What about a ghost that's gonna just walk toward you for the rest of your life?
That's like the worst STD I ever could think of.
Yeah.
Like a sexually transmitted haunt.
Just can't get
It's
rid
like
of
that awful phone call you have to call everybody up and be like, hey, so by the way, so this thing happened and, you know, you might be experiencing some side effects of creepy naked women walking slowly at you across from your, like, high school field, so...
Who might just be peeing down their leg. You never know.
She might look like your mom. She might look like a naked dude on top of a roof.
Now, right around the time that It Follows came out, there were a couple other, not sexually transmitted ghost stories, but sexual ghost stories about, like, ex-girlfriends or people who died, and that was Nina Forever and Burying the Ex. I know you're a big fan of Nina Forever.
Yes. I love gore. I love bloody, gory shit. And I loved how, like, this was a horror movie. Nina Forever was a horror movie that was bloody. I love the idea that every time the ex-girlfriend, like, comes to haunt this relationship, everything gets bloody. Like, she dies in a car accident, like a really gruesome death. And every time she comes back like that moment of her death.
Yeah.
And they have to change the sheets every time. And it just gets to the point where there's, like, some really sexy scenes where, like, you know, this new couple are having this loving, like, sexual moment. And then all of a sudden, like, bloody girlfriend comes out from the sheets, gets blood all over everything. And they're just kind of like, what do? We can't get rid of her. So, like, Three's Company? And they just, you know, start having sex with her too. I mean, yes. Likely, real likely.
But what would you do? Let's think about that. If you were in that situation, would you say, like, okay, well,
I'll ditch the dude, to be honest. Just like I ditched the dude who gave me, like, a paranormally transmitted, like, ST ghost.
An STG.
An STG.
So there's wandering ghosts that might wander into a town. You know, they might need a drink or a place to sleep for the night.
So next segment is ghost towns?
Yes, ghost towns.
Well, look at that.
There's not a lot of ghost town movies, but I would maybe say The Fog could be a ghost town movie.
That's definitely a ghost town movie.
But another ghost town
Ghost with
esque kind of thing, because it's suburbia, could be Poltergeist.
I liked that movie a lot. I mean, I kind of started off investigating, like, Indian burial grounds and cemeteries, and so I just kind of loved the idea, you know, of the fact that there is this neighborhood built on top of, like, graves. And to be honest, there are tons of neighborhoods like that For real in
Yeah.
the United States of America.
Yeah. Well, you know what else is realistic? Poultrygeist.
Oh my god.
I mean, if we're going to talk about Poltergeist, we have to talk about Poultrygeist.
Best trauma movie ever.
It might have my vote for best trauma movie.
It's got everything, guys. Okay, it's got everything.
Poultrygeist really is, to me, the culmination of the trauma universe.
Yeah.
It brings everything together, and you've got Ron Jeremy being the voice of Warning.
This restaurant is built on ancient Trauma tribe, sacred Indian burial grounds. Get out while you still can. Get out! Save yourselves! Save yourselves!
I'll have the sloppy Jose value meal.
And there we go. Don't know if you noticed this before, but I had to, as our little book prop, use Make Your Own Damn Movie. Lloyd Kaufman is an absolute hero to me and to so many independent filmmakers. I mean, the guy's just a legend.
I love that guy.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about trauma in the bloody bonus.
Okay.
But we do have to touch on one more ghosty category, vengeance ghosts. And we can't talk about vengeance ghosts without talking about the Wraith.
Oh, yeah. That's a gem. I kind of liked the Cars. Like, I like Cars, so the Cars were cool. That's it. That's all I have to say about that movie.
It's got an amazing soundtrack. Ozzy's not cock rock, but Ozzy's in there. Motley Crue. It's got a bunch of cock rock. And it's also got Clint Howard and Sherilyn Fenn. Sherilyn Fenn? 80s? Red bikini? Ted, my friend, welcome back to the show. Did you get a haircut?
I did get a haircut.
You look snazzy.
Beard trim.
You got a beard
Custom
trim?
shirt.
I saw that. It's pretty amazing. It's got all your little kitties on it.
All my cats.
So, Ted, real quick, 2 very important questions.
Yes.
How's your IBS been, and what did you think about Cole Beasley's catch the other night?
My IBS has been on the up and up for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, I only go
it's
like,
better than being on the down and down.
Yeah, I only go like 2 to 3 times a day rather than 6 to 9 times a day.
Yeah. Nice.
It's a little bit better.
Cool.
Cole Beasley's catch was insane.
It was pretty sick, wasn't it?
Crazy.
It was pretty cool. So, for this segment, I wanted to do something new. I know that you have a relationship with a place called the Hyena Gallery in Burbank, and they show art. So I thought, let's do something on horror art, because there are some incredibly talented horror artists. You want to talk a little bit about the Hyena Gallery?
Yeah, Hyena Gallery. So my relationship started with the owner there, Bill Schaefer, back in 2011 when I shot my first California feature film. Actually, I should say my second California feature film, the Cohasset Snuff film.
And you shot a little video for them, right?
I did. Bill was actually in my film as like this crazy collector guy in the first one. And then he actually was in my new film as well, playing a character, not playing himself really, playing like this crazed, like pedophilic, like weird shop owner. So
yeah, everybody wants to be a pedophilic shop owner. Well, why don't we go ahead and go to that video?
I'm Bill Schaefer, and I am the owner of Hyena Gallery. Our gallery specializes in dark art, weird stuff, oddities, unusual things. I've been here for 11 years with Hyena, and when I first opened, all the dark artists in the area were told they could only show in October. They were only good for Halloween shows. And that's always been like the stigma for anyone doing darker stuff, spooky stuff, horror-related art. And I showed them, I'm like, we'll just do this, year round. This is what I like, we're gonna show it. When I'm trying to pick out a new artist to show, I look for a level of professionalism. But when you're dealing with outsider art, that's really varied. Someone who's not a hobby artist, someone who's seriously just doing art, whether it's for commercial reasons or not, just as long as it's their passion and they're consistently producing. When you're not afraid to show the stuff I show, you get a weird reputation, and people are not afraid to bring you things. So over the years, we've had a lot of human skeletons, human skulls, like real bones. We've had bits of human skin, like preserved with tattoos and jars. Just all crazy stuff painted in human blood. You get access to some really cool stuff, and it's just by knowing the people who've been collecting it the longest and who have the most connections and, getting on their good side.
That's such a cool thing that he does, to show the art that those people make year-round, give them a place to showcase their art. I mean, I know with the internet now, it's pretty easy to get your stuff out there, but to have like a physical space when none of these people would have any other place to show their art is really neat.
And he does really cool art shows all the time. He did one that I actually got a piece from. It was all dedicated to John Carpenter. And they're always free, and they're always like on a weekend, and he gives away free wine and all this stuff. So if you ever want to see some cool artwork, head to the Hyena Gallery, Burbank, California.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that horror fans are weird. And we are weird. But we're not weird. We're just a little bit different. I mean, I know, speaking for myself, like all of my hardcore horror fans are like the nicest, sweetest.
Most of the horror people, I think, are pretty down-to-earth people. Because they have that outlet of, the id, the human id, and all those weird things that we're programmed with for whatever reason.
Yes, we are very conscious of our subconscious.
Yes.
And we just think about things a little bit differently. It doesn't make us any better than anyone else, it just makes us a little bit different. And the way that a lot of people express that difference is through their art. I don't want to quit this episode. It's been so much fun.
I had fun.
We got to talk about STGs.
Yes.
And Guck holding.
Yes.
And some haunted house movies.
Yeah, and The Wraith.
How about 2 weeks from now, if you're free, we can do werewolf.
Shut up.
How about that?
Okay. Only if you promise.
All right.
Because I kind of love them.
Okay.
Like, more than just love them as, like, a character. I kind of love them. They're, like, attractive to me. Like, I am attracted to guys that look like werewolves. And...
Hey, Ted just walked through the door. Ted looks like a werewolf.
I've noticed. Hey, Ted.
So, Susan.
Yes.
Did you have a good time?
I had a great time. I think, maybe next time we could also, like, try to actually get some proper evidence of what's going on in your basement.
Yeah, we're going to have to do another search.
And I'm worried about Andy. I'm worried about, like, what's going on with him. Like, he didn't seem right when he was down there. It was kind of creepy. Like,
he was kind of creepy, but then he disappeared. He disappeared a few episodes ago, and he came back, and he was kind of weird for a little while, but then he got over it.
I'm worried about the guy.
Who knows? I'm sure he'll pop back up one of these days.
I hope so. I hope he'll...
Transformers, robots in disguise.